Hi, our topic is going to be Main Street, place without a country. I know that sounds like an odd thing to say, but I think after we discuss it for a while, you'll understand where I'm coming from. My point is that in America today, most politicians at the national level can't see Main Street, can't see the place where most Americans live. They have been there for parades, they understand where it is physically, but in order to find it, they'd have a great deal of trouble, and I'm going to explain to you why. Until recently in America, until like the 1960s or 1970s, both political parties were centrist parties, Republicans and Democrats. It's like that thing when you go down the street and you see a McDonald's. You know you're probably going to see a Burger King fairly quickly. The marketing strategy is, of course, they both have very similar customers, so they both locate their stores in places where most of the customers are going to be. That's what the political parties used to be. And so they would put themselves in the center, and they would vary themselves by flavor. A slightly right-wing flavor, a slightly left-wing flavor. But basically, you would find them in the center. And you would find Democrats and Republicans, although they made a great deal of noise about where they stood, located very close, and therefore they were able to make agreements even on sweeping legislation like the Civil Rights Act. Why? Because basically they shared very common values and they reflected the same kind of community and were appealing to people who were variations on the same theme. But something happened with the protest of the war in Vietnam. The political parties began to divide up. The Democratic Party was going to be dominated by people who were increasingly left-wing in their sentiments. And the Republican Party, because of another dynamic, was going to be dominated by the right. And something that hadn't happened in America before began to happen. There were people who were without a party at all. It was the growth of independence. Now, in fact, there are more independents than there are Republicans in many areas. And each party is dependent on claiming victory, on appealing to the center, appealing to independence. But in this process, something has been lost. What's been lost is a permanent sense in the political parties of what's happening in so much of the country. Because not only have the parties moved to the right and to the left, but they've moved up in society, away from Main Street and towards big institutions. Big banks, big labor, big business, and the small business that is found on Main Street or on the average strip mall doesn't really have a voice on the national level. It's as if the people who run the government have been so enculturated into the international flavor of a growing global business, of the bigness of massive corporations and things that can hire lobbyists on a national level, that they can't even see the small businesses and the dynamic of their own communities and own towns. And that's why there's nothing that we're doing for them. It's as if they're the invisible America. In the 1960s, there was a book called The Other America, and Americans who were living throughout a prosperous time, having come back with the money from the war years and having this dynamic economy, were introduced into the idea that there was poverty in their own midst. But today in America, we have lost a sense of the other America, or the real America, and that is the America of Main Street, because the high flyers are so involved with globalization that they can't see the small towns and suburbs of their own country. Thank you.